everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. Today we're going to be working with this color palette. I thought this was so pretty. I have a basic white, berry burst, a fresh freesia, and I have a piece of designer series paper from the Unbounded Beauty. And that is this pack right here. It is absolutely a gorgeous pack of paper. A whole lot of different colors in it. We've got that summer splash, the petunia pop, so many pretty colors. But I decided to pair it with berry burst because I thought that would really pick up the darker color in that paper. So I'm all about contrast. Anyone that knows me knows I love a good contrast. Now, I designed this card that I'm going to make today, and then when I got ready to make it, I went to see if the paper that I used was still available, and it's not. So that's the reason I changed to this. But my original card, I had some of these circles left over from where I did the rotating circle card. I did that a couple weeks back. And I was just playing around in here and I laid my circles down on my paper and I really liked the way it looked. So I went and found this very pretty paper. I used one of the big butterflies that comes in the butterfly packet, the little ephemera. And I love the way this turned out so much. So we're going to make the same card, but I'm going to use this color palette. So we're going to hope that it turns out good as well. So the first thing we want to do is decide what we want for our card base. And for this one, I am going to use the Berry Burst. And I'm going to bring it up and give it a score with my scoreboard. So all I'm going to do is put this up in the top left-hand corner. And I need to score this at 4 1/4. Oops, did I jump my... I believe I did. That's okay. We were able to fix it. So there is my score. And this is an A2 size card. So my piece of paper was 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and I scored it at 4 1/4. So let me grab my bone folder, and I'm going to give this a good varnish just to make sure that my card lays down really well. And then I want to cut a mat to go on top of this. And I want this mat to be 4 by 5 1/4. So this again is, I believe it's a half a sheet of paper. So I'm going to bring it to 4. And then I'm going to turn it and cut it to 5 1/4. Just line it up nice and straight. And that will assure that you have a nice square piece. So that's going to go on here like this. Then we're going to need another piece that's going to be 3 3/4. I'm going down 1/4 inch each time. So this piece is going to be 3 3/4. Let's do 5 this way first. So it's going to be 5 inches by 3 3/4. So you can see I'm just taking it down 1/4 inch. And this is going to give me that beautiful border that I'm looking for around my card. So this is going to go on like that. Now we're going to need to do some cutting. So I need to cut some circles, and I'm going to use 2 different die sets for that. And one is, they have moved this into the online exclusives, but it is still available, and it's the deckled circles. And I hope these are going to be around for a while. It's a very versatile circle stamp set, and they're deckled because they have that sort of wiggly line around them, and they look good with just about everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off, I believe it's this one. Make sure I'm getting the right one. Nope, one bigger. It's going to be this one. I'm looking at my card because, like I said, when I cut this, I was working with another card, and I really wasn't paying attention to which one it was. So counting from the largest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's your 6th one from the largest, and then 2 down. This one is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 6. Go 7 and 8. So it's going to be 6 and 8. And when you put those on top of each other, it's going to give you that nice little border. So when you cut that, you're going to get this ring right there. So let's get those cut. And we're going to need another piece of white because I do want to cut these in white. And to get that even, just lay this down onto your cardstock and lay the other one inside of it and just wiggle it until it looks, nice and even all the way around. Then use a piece of tape, or I like these Post-it notes, and you can find these in my online Amazon store, and they'll be on my PDF tutorial. There will be a link where you can just click if you want to pick up some of those. They're so neat because they come in this little dispenser, and this will suction to your desk where you can pull them out without having to hold on. And that's what I love about it. You don't have to tear tape, and if you need to release it, you can just pick it up right there. And it has actually, it has a little suction cup where it sticks to your desk. All right, we know we need to cut that, and I need one more thing. So I'm going to bring out another piece of white, and I need that little white circle that goes in the middle. And for that, I'm going to use the Spotlight on Nature. Let me pull those out. That's these dies right here, and they're so stinking cute. I love this one with the eyelet, and that's the one I'm going to use, and I believe it's this one. No, it's a smaller one. It's going to be, I think we can get by with this one. Yeah, we can make, well, looking at the wrong card. I believe it is this one. Yep. So we're going to cut this out of white as well. And I don't need that big of a piece of paper. So I'm going to bring my trimmer in. And I'm going to trim this off because I like to try to cut everything at one time if I can. So I'm going to lay this right here. Kind of get a measurement of how much paper I need. And I don't need a lot. I just need a small piece. And that looks about right. So I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to turn it and cut it this way as well. That way I'll have a much smaller footprint on my die cut machine. So just cut that off like that. And now this piece is ready to go through the die cut. Now we need one more piece. We need a piece of the berry burst. And we're going to cut it also using one of our deckled circles. And for this one, I want it to be about like this. Make sure I got that right. One more bigger, maybe this one. Yep, that looks right. So that's the one we're going to do on that one. And you can make your circles any size you want them, but I want to replicate the size that I did on this card because I like the way it looked. I did another card and I made it in blues, and I didn't, oops, not that one. I didn't like the circles as good in this one. I made them smaller. You see the difference? I like the larger circles better. But you can do this with any color, any pattern paper that you like, any combinations of colors. So I'm going to move this over to here. I'm going to put that down right about there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that piece off. I'm going to do the same thing right there. And trim that off. Now this piece is ready to cut. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to get all of my pieces ready so that when I bring my machine up, I can go ahead and cut everything in one shot, except my butterfly. And we are going to go ahead and do that before we bring up the die cut machine, because I think it will just make everything flow a little bit easier. I brought out the sketched butterflies, and I think I want to do the big one. Or maybe I'll do the small one. Maybe I'll do this one. I like that one. I think it's very pretty. And I'll only need a small piece of this fuchsia. Let's see if I have the fresh fuchsia. Let's see. We've got a smaller piece. We don't need to use that great big piece for that little butterfly. Look at that. And I'm going to stamp him on there. And I'm going to stamp him using, because I'm not going to be coloring this butterfly, I'm going to be using just in his natural state of being black on this fuchsia paper, fresh freesia. And we're going to stamp him using the Versafine Onyx Black ink. It always gives me a very deep color, and that's what I'm looking for. Very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and stamp two of them in case I decide to use two. Maybe I'll use one on the inside. And that done. Let's cover up that ink pad. And also, this is not a Stampin' Up! Product, but if you're interested in the Versafine ink, you can't use your alcohol blends on it. So if you use those, I do recommend the Memento, but it works great for everything else in your sentiments or anything like that. It is gorgeous. All right, so these are ready. This is all ready to cut. So I'm going to bring up my machine. I do need to get my sketched butterfly dies. And we are going to cut this one. So just make sure you line that up. And you don't want to see any of the outside color around, and that will ensure that you're getting that butterfly cut out perfectly. So that's ready to cut. That's ready to cut. We are in business. So I'm going to grab my machine and I'm going to zoom y'all out just a little bit further, about like that. I'm going to grab my plates. And so I have my number 1 plate. I don't need my embossing plate because we're not embossing. I have my number 2 plate, which is your die adapter plate. I have a very well-loved cut plate. Let's turn that over because it is bowing a little bit. Anytime my plates bow up, I flip them. And then this one is your cover plate. You want to flip that each time you use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay my pieces of cardstock over my cut plate. Just like this. We are going to have to cut twice, and that's okay. Let's cut this one. All right, so now I can put the cover plate over, run this through, and this is going to cut all of my pieces at one time, except that last one. We just couldn't quite get that to fit on there, so that's okay. We'll pull these out. And this one's going to need to be cut again because I'm going to cut both of those butterflies. So I'd had to run it through twice anyway. So I'm going to line this up over my butterfly, just like that. And put that down. And let's pull these off. We're just going to lay those over here while we cut the rest of them. So now I'm just going to move that cover plate, and I'm going to put this one down and this one, and then cover it again with my cover plate and crank it back through this way. This machine always cuts like a breeze. I love it for that reason. Never have any issues with it not cutting. Now, see that's bowed up a little bit. You can see it moving. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it again. And then this one came off like that, so I'm going to make sure I flip that over. These will be ready for me to use next time I need to die cut. So let's smooth that out of our way. And let's bring this over and go ahead and peel off all of our pieces. There's our butterfly. And there's the other butterfly. Here is our circle. And there is our piece for our sentiment. Beautiful. And then this is our frame. You will get a bonus piece on this because the center cuts out as well. And what I suggest doing, if you have a place where you keep some extra die cut, I would save this because you will be able to come back and use that on another card. So I'm going to stick that over there. And then this is all going to go together just like that. And we'll put these dies here. Now we're ready to assemble our card. We do need to do some stamping, so I'm going to bring this over, and I want to use the sentiment that says, "Hope is a beautiful thing that flutters in the soul." What a more perfect sentiment to put on a card with fluttering butterflies. I love it. This is such a neat set, and I am going to put that down right about there. And you can choose. I use the dark ink, but I think this time I'm going to use my berry burst just to keep everything coordinating. And I think it'll be very pretty. So there is my ink. And grab grab a stamp block, and I'm going to pick that up. And the good thing about a circle, you don't have to worry about it being straight because you can turn your circle any way you need to. So I'm going to stamp that like that. I'm going to hold it just for a minute. Don't rock your stamp. Just hold it straight and lift it up. And look how beautiful that is. So that gives you a good impression every time. Now let's go ahead and put the card together. Let's build the front first. So I'm going to use some liquid glue. And the glue press, when it's set for a while, see how it seals itself? It has that little dab of glue. It doesn't stick to the silicone dot that's in the bottom of the holder. So all you have to do is peel that off and it's ready to use. Always ready. You don't have to worry about a pen. You don't have to worry about anything except gluing your piece on. And you can just sit it back in its little cradle every time after you use it. So I think it's ingenious. I like this way. So I'm going to sit this down, minding where my borders are at. And once you get it where you want it, give it a good press. Now we are going to decide where we want this. And I want this to fall right in the middle. So I want about the same amount here as here. And that looks really good. So all I'm going to do for this is just run some glue all the way around. And it doesn't take a lot. That's why I like liquid glue. And liquid glue gives me the opportunity to wiggle it a little bit. So if I didn't place it quite right, I have a moment before it attaches where I can move it up or down. And I think that right there looks really perfect. Then I'm going to set this one down in the middle and see how you've got that peekaboo of the designer paper showing. So it looks like you've got another ring in there, when in actuality you don't. But I do want to go ahead and put this in, and I'm going to pop this up on some dimensionals. So I'm going to grab my dimensionals, and I'm using up the rest of these. So I'm going to grab my scissors and just cut some little pieces off of here. 1, 2, maybe 3. I think 3 will do it. And this is how you can use up your little bits and pieces around the edge of your stamping dimensionals. Never throw those away. They're sticky and they work just like a dimensional. They're just not in as a certain size. And I think I might do one more. Right here. Just like that. And then we can just peel those backers off. And then we're ready to set this down. And when you put that down, you want to try to get it as even as you possibly can. Look at it before you press it. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to give it a press. And then I'm going to put glue on the back of this and glue it down inside of my white circle. Now this is where you want to try to make sure you get this nice and straight. So lay it down. Remember, it's a liquid glue, so you're going to have a few minutes of wiggle time. That is so pretty. And then we have our little butterflies that we can decorate wherever you want to put them. If you wanted one here and one here, that would be gorgeous. Or we can put one here and do the other one on the inside. And I think that's what I want to do. I think I'm going to use this one. And I'm just going to put some glue right there on where the body goes, because the rest of that's going to hang off just a tiny bit. And I want to catch it right there, just like that. So now we can bring our card base over and get some glue on the back of it. And then I like to turn it, making sure that my card's opening in the right way. And then just lay this down, getting your borders nice and even. Once you feel good with where that's at, you can press, and you have your card is done. Now the only thing we need to do is put a sentiment on the inside. So we need to do a card base, or a mat, I should say, inside. For that, I am going to grab a piece of white, and I think I have another piece of white over here. We do. So I'm going to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, because that's the size mat we're going to need. So 4 by 5 1/4. And you can decide now if you want to do any flowers or butterflies. And remember, we have this butterfly, so I think he'd be really cute right there. And I think the thinking of you would be beautiful in here. So we're just going to do it, make it very simple, and say we're thinking of you. I love that. Simple and yet so pretty. So sometimes you don't need your cards to say a lot. You just want someone to know that you've been thinking of them. They're in your heart and on your mind. And that's the perfect time to send a card, just for no reason, just because you're thinking of that person and wishing them all the best. So I'm going to bring this one and I'm going to stamp it right about there. I'll hold it and let that ink transfer. And there we go. Now I'm going to glue down the butterfly, but I'm not going to put dimensionals on it because it's inside the card and I want it to sit flat. I may even do it a little bit closer like that. So we are going to put glue all over the back of our butterfly this time. And I'm going to put him right there, like he's right there beside the thinking of you. Now all we need to do is glue this inside of our card. And our card is done. And we have another card to send to a good friend, a sister, a daughter, a mother, a daughter-in-law, whoever you feel is needing to know that you are thinking of them and that you love them. And that's what I feel like card making is all about. It lets people know that you care about them. So that is our card for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now I am going to put some little gems on it. So let me grab my box of pretties. That's what I like to call them. They are pretty. And this right here are gorgeous. And I think I'm going to use those ones in the middle because that's like that fresh freesia. And it goes so well with this. So I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool. I don't know how I craft without this because it's so versatile and it does so many different things. And I love a tool that is more than a one-trick pony. So that's what this does. It does so much, from picking up my gems to poking holes where I need them to helping me peel the backers off of my adhesives. uh, to inserting magnets when I need to do that. This works beautifully. There's just so many things that this will do that you don't even realize until you have it in your arsenal. And then you're like, oh my goodness, how did I ever do without that? I'm going to put this one over here on that ring. Isn't that gorgeous? I love, love, love the simplicity of this card. I think it turned out absolutely stunning. I hope you've enjoyed it. And this design came about just by me having some scraps left over one day. And I sat down and played with them. And that's what I came up with. So that's what card making's all about at its essence. It is just sitting down and putting paper together and make something beautiful. Thanks so much for tuning in once again. God bless and keep you. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say, every action, every movement, every attitude bring honor to our Savior Jesus. He is so worthy. So until next time, take care, be kind, and know that you're loved. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.